Hello, my name is Ranveer Singh Dalal. Today, in this video, the second part of Lost Spring, the second chapter in class 12th syllabus, English core, we are going to discuss the second part of this chapter, which titles I Want to Drive a Car. So, in a similar spirit, the theme that we got familiar with in the first part, and that theme is taken up once again in the second part. In this part of the story, in this part of the lesson, we come to know about another character, Mukesh, and he belongs to Firozabad. So the writer, a journalist, visits Firozabad, a city in UP, a shanty town in UP, and from this town, this is the center of bangle making industry, the hub of bangle making industry, and bangles are supplied throughout the country from here. So the chapter starts in a similar manner as it happened in the first part of the chapter. The writer puts a question to Mukesh when she visited this particular place. She puts a question. She happens to meet Mukesh, who lives in Firozabad. She asks a question, and as an answer to this question, she must have asked what you want to do, and Mukesh says, I will be a motor mechanic. So here the story starts, here this part of the lesson starts. And then the writer asks, do you know anything about cars? And he says, I will learn to drive a car. So Mukesh is different from Sahib-e-Alam in being willing to become master of his own. So he wants to become his own master, and that was not the case with Sahib-e-Alam. Now after this start, where we get to find about the resolution of Mukesh, there is a willingness on his part to do something different from his family members, who all of them were involved in this profession of making bangles. Now after this start, there is an introduction to this town, Firozabad, where every family, every household is involved in this traditional business, in this traditional work of making bangles, glass blowing industry. The city is famous. Bangles are supplied to the whole country from here. So this is how the city has been introduced to us. Now next we find an introduction to the town, the shanty town, Firozabad, where Mukesh's family is living. And no one in his family is aware that it is wrong to take work from children. Mukesh being a child laborer working in that city, like many other children. About 20,000 children were involved in this work of making bangles, and nobody knew in Mukesh's family that nobody knew about the law prevalent in the country, that below the age of 14 years children are not allowed to work. And if they knew this, they didn't know anything about this law, and they had no idea that if the law is implemented, 20,000 of such children could be brought out of this exploitative life, in which, you know, the kind of work they were doing, sitting near the hot furnaces, soldering the pieces of bangles, making bangles, involved in this work, they are with their family members, doing hard work during their daytime. These children slogging their daylight hours, means they are working hard, and they spend their daytime, you know, which ideally they should devote in some school to study, but they are involved in this hard work, sitting with their parents doing work, soldering pieces of bangles. So Mukesh, when the writer happens to meet Mukesh volunteers to take writer to his house, and the writer goes with Mukesh to his house, and on her way to the house she observes the condition of this shanty town, the lanes choked with garbage, the houses crumbling with, you know, crumbling walls, wobbly doors, no windows, and these kind of houses, human beings and animals living in a state of, you know, living in primeval state, without development, like human beings lived years back, centuries back, with animals. So in a state of primeval state of no development, they were living, ancient state. And so, you know, Mukesh stops in front of a house which was his house. He enters, you know, hitting the door with his foot, and the writer observes the inside of that house. In one corner of the house, which was covered with, actually, you know, this house was being rebuilt, and this was a matter of pride for Mukesh. He was happy that his house was being rebuilt. Others were not so fortunate. Hardly, you know, only a few of them could feel like this. So in one part of this house, so-called house, actually it was a shanty. In one corner that was covered with dead grass, there was a stove on which spinach was sizzling in a pot, and nearby sitting a woman, Mukesh's sister-in-law, his bhabhi, and she smiles at the writer through the smoke that came in front of her. It was a firewood stove, actually. So it was, you know, she had to work, she had to cook meal for the whole family, and two significant words have been used while describing Mukesh's bhabhi, and those are that she has begun to command respect as the bahu. This word respect, and she is already in charge of three men. In charge, respect and being in charge. It seems as if she has some kind of power, but these are ironical statements. She was not much, actually, she was not much older in years, quite young, but she had to work, you know. She must have got married at quite an early age, and now she has to work, and she has to work in these conditions, unhealthy conditions. And she was also overburdened by another thing, that is the tradition. When the elder Mukesh's father. Mukesh and his elder brother, three men in the house, whose responsibility was there on Mukesh's bhabhi's shoulder. She had to work for them, and when Mukesh's father comes home, she has to go behind a wall. She has to go behind a broken wall. So she has to bring veil in front of her face. So this is tradition, and she has to follow this tradition or custom. So she's oppressed. These people are oppressed by tradition, as well as their state of poverty, exploitation at the hands of different people. That we will come later in the chapter. Those people who are responsible for their continuous exploitation. Now, a word about Mukesh's father, an impoverished bangle maker, a poor bangle maker. And he does not have much to his credit. He has not been able to do anything other than, teaching his children the art of making bangles. He couldn't send his two sons to home. He couldn't send his two sons to school. And he has failed to renovate a house. So couldn't do much, nothing much to his credit. Only thing that he could do was to teach his two sons the art of making bangles. And Mukesh's grandmother, now a word about his grandmother. She is the kind of lady who believes in fate, destiny. She thinks it is all because of her karma. It is, the writer says, Mukesh's grandmother, as per writer's statement, Mukesh's grandmother says it is his karma, his destiny. She says these words about her husband, that he had to do this work all because of destiny. There was no way out. They were born in the caste of bangle makers, so it is that lineage, God-given lineage, that they cannot break away from. So this is what the grandmother, Mukesh's grandmother, believes. And then the normal scene, what is generally observed in every house, in every street, every yard, all over this place, all over Firozabad, in this shanty town, only one thing is visible: bangles and bangles, spirals of bangles, loaded on hand-driven carts, four-wheel carts, and piled in unkempt yards. So all over the place, the only thing visible was these bangles. Different colors, these bangles of different colors, every possible color in the rainbow they were. And children, one more thing visible was that in small houses, these houses which have been called as hovels earlier, not in proper condition for human beings to live in. So these houses, now here these houses are called as hutments. So these small houses, shanties, in these places, dark places, in high temperature. So sitting near the furnaces and a line of flickering lamps, these children working continuously with their elders, soldering the pieces of colored pieces of glass, giving them shape of bangles. So this is how they do this work, and continuously being exposed to high temperature, sitting in dark hutments. Their eyes get more adjusted over time. Their eyes get more adjusted to darkness rather than the light outside. So they end up losing their eyesight before they become adults. So this is how they suffer doing this work. Then there is a mention of a girl, Savita, who is sitting beside an elderly woman soldering pieces of glass. Her hands move mechanically like tongs of a machine. So in a mechanical manner she works, and the writer wonders if she knows anything about these bangles. So she works in a mechanical manner without knowing the significance of these bangles. So here the writer indicates once again towards the operation of traditions, how they, women are doubly oppressed, they are doubly exploited. Men quite obviously are exploited, men and boys, but women, how women are more exploited, are suffering more than men. So we find an example of this in this case, Savita and the elder woman. Savita will get to know about the importance of these bangles, these bangles which symbolize auspiciousness in marriage, and she will come to know about this. Superficially these bangles symbolize goodness in marriage, but actually they become markers of oppression as well. As she will get married, when she will get married, she will go from one exploitative stage to another one. She will leave one place of oppression and she will move to another one. She will live further life of suffering and exploitation, nothing else. So she will come to know when she will become a bride, bangles would be rolled into her wrists, and henna will be applied on her palms, and red veil on her head. She will become a bride. Only then she will realize the importance of these bangles. She will become a bride one day, as the lady sitting beside her became one day. So this is how. Now the woman, elderly woman who was sitting beside Savita, there is something about her. She says, "Ek waqt se bhar khana bhi nahi khaya." So she has suffered equally. She has suffered throughout her life and was not able to enjoy even one full meal in her entire lifetime. So that's what she has reaped. That's what she has got as a result of her of hard work throughout her life. Something and then something about her husband with blowing beard. One thing is remarkable with her husband, and this is for writer, this is quite unbelievable, that he has been able to build a house of his own. And this is quite unbelievable for the writer, because others in that locality were not able to do that. And then in every house there is a cry, there is a lament, lament about poverty, not having money to carry on business of, no other business than bangle making, and not having enough to eat. So this is the lament that rings in every house. This is the cry. This is the complaint that is echoed in every house. And young men echo the lament of their elders. So this tradition of lamenting, complaining, passes on to the younger generation. They are no different from their elders. Continuously working hard, years of mind-numbing toil, continuously working hard in under adverse circumstances. They are hardly left with any initiative and ability to dream. So they look as tired as their elders. They do not have spirit and enthusiasm. They do not want, they do not have that energy, that zeal and enthusiasm to do something different. They look as tired and exhausted as their elders. Now the writer, in her usual glib manner, as we came to know about in the first part of the chapter, she says to a group of young men, why not organize yourselves into a cooperative? And these boys, these young men, they tell her that they cannot. If they do, they will be hauled up by the police. They will be dragged into jails on some flimsy charges, on the charges of doing something illegal. They would be beaten by the policemen. So that's how their situation is. And there is no leader among them, no charismatic leader, no inspiring leader who could help them see things differently. And they look as tired as their fathers. These children, these boys and their fathers, they talk in a spiral. Four things are the topics of their talk. Whatever they say, these fathers, elders of these boys, whatever they say, four things come in one form or another. Whenever they talk, four things are the topics on which they move one after the other. And these four things are poverty, apathy, greed, and injustice. Whatever they say, these themes do come up in their conversation. They cannot avoid, they cannot talk anything other than these. And listening to them, the writer observes there are two different worlds. One is that belongs to their poverty, to their state of poverty and stigma of caste. So they are poor people. They are suffering from not only poverty but tradition, caste. They believe in their destiny. They think things cannot change. They have to do this work. This is all God given. They cannot change their destiny. So they suffer from poverty and stigma of caste. This is one world of exploitation, one world of suffering, and the other one is the suffering that is imposed on them because of a group of exploitative people. And who are the constituents of this group? Who are the elements of this group? Who are the people responsible for their exploitation? They are the sahukars, the middlemen, the policemen, the keepers of law, the bureaucrats, and the politicians. Quite ironically, some of them, like bureaucrats, keepers of law, policemen, and politicians who are supposed to work for their betterment, are causes of their exploitation, their suffering. So quite ironical, we can say this. And these people have imposed a baggage on the child. The child that, a child like Mukesh. And this child can be anyone from their community. So these people have imposed a baggage which the child cannot move away from, and he has to accept it before he becomes an adult. He starts, speaking in the same vein, in the same manner, the child, as his father speaks. And these children, for this child, like Mukesh, daring is not part of their life. They cannot think of doing something. They cannot think of doing anything different from what their parents have been doing for years. And this is what happens to Mukesh. Mukesh is a specimen of this kind of child. But one thing is different. One thing is different with Mukesh. He is an exception. All things quite similar, but He is different in the sense that he dares to dream. He dares to dream. He is different in this sense. Mukesh is different because he dares to dream. He thinks, he says, I want to be a motor mechanic, I want to learn driving a car, and for that he's ready to cover a distance. He's ready to walk also. So these, what he wants, he expresses his intentions to the writer. And writer is happy to see a light, a spark in his eyes. But she has her doubts. So to clear those doubts, she puts a question. She thinks, if this is only a dream, if this is only a wild dream, so to check her resolution, she asks if he dreams to fly a plane also. And Mukesh says no. He looks down. He's embarrassed. But this embarrassment is devoid of regret. He's not full of regret. He is not feeling sorry for what he dreams to become. And here the writer feels happy about Mukesh. His dream is based on reality. Few planes fly over Firozabad, but there are cars driven on the roads in Firozabad. Cars, those which goes hurtling down from one city, from one road to another. So cars are visible. So that's why this dream of Mukesh is grounded in reality. So that's how the chapter ends. Now let us discuss the question answers. First one is, what is Sahib looking for? Those questions we discussed, related to Sahib's story. Regarding Mukesh's, first one is short question: what makes the city of Firozabad famous? Firozabad is famous for its glass blowing industry or bangle making industry. Bangles are supplied throughout the country from here. So that's how we can answer this question. Second question, mention the hazards of working in the glass bangles industry. What are the harmful effects? So they are, the children have to work sitting with their parents in unwelcome circumstance, the unhealthy circumstance, the unhealthy conditions. High temperature, sitting beside furnaces, at the side of flickering lamps, in dark hutments, in humid places, they have to work, exposed to high temperature. And they tend to lose their eyesight before they become adults. So this is how, these are the hazards of working in the glass bangles industry. Next question is, how is Mukesh's attitude to his situation different from that of his family? Mukesh is different from his family in being resolute. He dares to think differently. He dreams to become a motor mechanic. He wants to drive a car. He says he will cover a distance. He will walk to a nearby, to a garage which is quite a long distance away from his home, his house. So he is in this way, his attitude to his situation is different from that of his family. He thinks a little differently. He wants to be something different from all others. Next question is a long answer question. What could be, under the heading understanding the text, what could be some of the reasons for the migration of people from villages to cities? So this looks a general kind of question, but there should be some reference from the story as well. So what could be the reasons? Why do people migrate from villages to cities? First is in search of work. They do get more opportunities of work in bigger cities. And then to seek better healthcare facilities. And the third one, to seek better entertainment facilities. The kind of glamour that we see in cities. So that attraction, because of this, there is some kind of attraction to go to a city. So general things we can say, and other than this, they look for better educational facilities for their children. They think their children can go to a good school. So overall, in search of work, in search of better prospects, better possibilities to earn good money, people generally migrate to cities. Similar things happen in this chapter. Mukesh, other than Mukesh, Sahib-e-Alam, his family, they migrated from Dhaka in Bangladesh to Simapuri in Delhi. So they migrated in search of work, food particularly, because their fields in Dhaka, they couldn't provide them grains because of regular floods. They were swept away because of floods and storms. So in search of work to fill their stomachs, that was in search of jobs, that was their priority. Next question is, would you agree that promises made to poor children are rarely kept? Yes, we do agree. They are rarely kept. Even at present, we see a lot of children, millions of children still have to work. They are still child laborers, despite the fact that we have a Nobel laureate, Kailash Satyarthi, who was given Nobel Prize in the field of working for children, improving their lives in the field of stopping child labor. Still, a lot of work is to be done. Still, we see children standing on the red lights, looking for in big cities, asking for alms, begging, or in tea stalls, or in certain factories. They do work. Certain industries, they have to work. They are still employed, and in some cases even their parents, their elders, their own family members, they also employ them. So that's how promises are rarely kept. Why do you think they think this happens in the incidents narrated in the text? This happens because in the case of Sahib-e-Alam, this happens because he has to, these children, their lot, their destiny could not, they were not given opportunities, they were not given facilities by government, no facilities available in their areas, schools, no intervention on the part of government and authorities to send these children to schools. So they have to work with their elders. They are partners in the survival. Even the elders are not in a position to send them to any school. They do not have enough money to fill their stomachs. Only they get food through those ration cards. Their names are on the voters list. They are exploited in this manner. So this is how this happens in the case of children like Sahib-e-Alam. And in the case of Mukesh, they suffer, though they are residents of this very country, but they suffer as a result of tradition, as a result of poverty for generations, as a result of ignorance. They believe in destiny, they think they cannot change their circumstances, and so these are some internal factors. But some outside factors also responsible for their situation, and these outside factors, those people who are responsible for the exploitations, middlemen, sahukars, policemen, the keepers of law, the bureaucrats, and the politicians. So they are responsible to put them, to trap them in a vicious circle, from an evil, trapped in an evil cycle from which they cannot come out. So this is how they are they are exploited. And this is how things happen in the incidents narrated in the text. And the next question is, what forces conspire to keep the workers in the Bengal industry of Firozabad in poverty? What forces, as I have expressed in the earlier question, forces, what forces? Middlemen, sahukars, policemen, keepers of law, bureaucrats, and the politicians. These are responsible for the exploitation of these workers. These are the forces. Policemen, if they try to unite themselves in a cooperative, they are put behind bars, they are beaten, they are hauled up and on false charges. So this is how policemen are responsible for the exploitation. Then middlemen, they do not provide enough money for their products. They are the ones who buy products, who buy bangles from them at cheaper prices and sell them at higher prices to different places. So they are the ones who get the greater chunk of profit. And then the bureaucrats, politicians, who should make laws, better laws, and who are responsible for the implementation of those laws, they lack in their responsibility. They are not honest in fulfilling their obligations towards these workers. They are sometimes corrupt. They are hand in gloves with others, with policemen and other people who do not allow them to come out of this vicious circle, middlemen particularly. So this is how, these are the forces which conspire to keep the workers in the Bengal industry of Firozabad in poverty. So this is what the second part of this chapter was all about. I hope you enjoyed, and if you found this video useful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you could get information regarding the coming up videos. And if you like, put the like, click the like button, and also leave your comments also. Okay, so that there could be improvement also in the coming up videos. Thanks for watching.